Reveil is a horror game promising to focus on story, puzzles, and exploration. So let's talk about if the game is worth playing. In the game, we play Walter Thompson and we are trying to find our wife and daughter. But something is wrong. The world around us keeps shifting, the rooms are moving around, and we are having peculiar memory flashes. And things just aren't quite right. As we go through the game, we learn more about our life, the situation we're in, and why everything is twisting around us in such peculiar ways. Early on, I was not quite sure if I was feeling the story or not, and I was kind of worried this was going to be another layers of fear situation where the ending is rather vague. But I was happily surprised, as the final quarter of the game turned out to be my favorite one, even though that is the area that has really barely any scares in it. It was more just the absolute fascination of unraveling what had been happening in the game so far, making what I thought was gonna be a really basic and rather common story into something a bit more interesting. Now the developers do deliver on their promise of exploration, story and puzzles. Depending on how much you choose to read and look around, there are various things you might easily miss. And while a good chunk of the game is you walking around and looking at things, there are some nice puzzles scattered around there as well. Some of them requiring you to sit down and think for a bit, and others simply requiring some stealthing around enemies. But I enjoyed them thoroughly, as they did a really good job at breaking up the gameplay and adding something different, though some of the walking sequences did feel a tad long. The game itself is not overly scary, there are some jump scares, some of them a little bit cheap, but overall the game is not that scary. If anything, the scariest thing in this game is Walter's walking speed. He is just horribly slow. I constantly felt like I was wading through mud, causing me to feel slow and clunky. And there is a running, jogging option, but I'm not sure if I was moving faster or if the camera change just made me feel like I was moving faster. But outside of the slow walking, I found the game to be really enjoyable. While it does start with what feels like an overused narrative, it pleasantly surprised me as I got deeper into the story, and I enjoyed unraveling the mystery of what was going on. Especially when I realized that something I had noticed early on and found odd was actually a hint of the revelations that would happen later on. Outside of the slow walking, I found the game to be pleasant to play. It set itself up with an overused narrative only to surprise me with a genuinely interesting story. And I found the level designs, the visuals and the use of light and color to be really good. The voice acting was pleasant, mostly carried by Walter, though I did have one issue with it is in the rare cases where Walter decides to read a note to you, he doesn't fully read it, he just kind of mumbles his way through it, meaning you kind of have to wait for him to finish so you can then sit down and actually read what the note said. But outside of that, I have no issues with the voice acting. The game offers multiple endings, but also utilizes an autosave system that got me a little bit worried. Thankfully, you can actually select chapter and scene in the menu, making it a breeze to explore the other endings. And in the end, I was left satisfied with my experience. Reveil is no masterpiece, but it's a good game with some great moments and reveals. And the length is just right for the story being told. Clocking in just around 5 hours, it felt not too short, but also not outstaying its welcome, and dragging on to become boring. So if you're looking for a not so scary horror game with focus on puzzles and a truly interesting narrative, Reveil might just be the game for you. But what do you think? I also recorded my entire playthrough of this game, and I am gonna be releasing it as a let's play here on the channel. So if you want to join me through the surprising twist of the game, you can do so right from the playlist that should appear on the screen. The first episode is coming out a day after this video releases, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of it. But now I'm curious, is Reveil something you're interested in playing? Have you maybe played it before? Tell me about it down in the comments. But in the end, all I want to say is takk fyrir að horfa og eigðu yndislegan dag.